Alright, so we're back on the 67, another day. Today's video we're going to be focusing on the cowl area. I'm going to do the lower cowl, upper cowl, weld that firewall in. And I'm going to show you quick something I didn't show you in the last video of things that I prepped before I put that firewall in. And then I'll just show you what I'm going to do on the cowl here to cut that out. And basically we're going to make this one a cowl video. So if you're doing a cowl in your car, hopefully this one helps. So let's show you what I'm going to be focusing on. First off, I'll show you the firewall. Before I put the firewall in, I went ahead and put holes in the floor pan where I'm going to weld it, because that firewall tucks underneath your floor pan there. And I also put holes in the floor supports all over. And on those I put actually a bigger hole in, well, just to go over some. For the most part, the holes that I'm putting in, panels that I'm welding together, are 5/16, and stuff that's thicker metal like that, that's more structurally based, like these are tying into your frame rails, I put a 3/8 hole into it that I'm gonna end up welding shut. That's just how I do it. Just seems like a nice size hole. It's a more area than what factory spot welds are. But cowl, I already have it disconnected from the cowl side panels, which you saw in the last video that I changed. So the only places where it's connected is on this upper portion here, and then along the entire dash panel. And for these cars, they're spot welded up here where you can see these little drill marks that I already did, and they're welded along the bottom here. You don't have to take off these bottom ones because that's only welding the upper to the lower. The only thing that I need to take off is this face here, which is onto the actual dash. So what I do to make it easy, because I don't want to drill through that dash because I want to put holes in my new cowl to weld to that dash, I go around with just an 1/8 inch drill bit and do a little mark in it, so that I go back and take my spot weld cutter, I set it right into that nub so that it doesn't skip off, because if you don't make that mark, a lot of times this spot weld cutter will skip off of it, and then you end up breaking your tips off of it, and then your spot weld cutter is junk. Got to move on to the next one. So I went ahead, made all those indents in every spot weld that I need to cut out. I'm going to go ahead and drill them, take off the cowl, prep the new one, and then we'll start welding in the lower cowl, and then I'll show you on seam sealing, and I paint that lower cowl before I cover it up. So let's get started. Alright, so where I'm at now is I'm about to weld the firewall in place and the lower cowl. Just to give you a little bit of how I got to that point, you saw I removed that lower cowl. I go ahead and I prepped, put holes in the lower cowl, upper cowl a while, and I also painted the backside of the dash while that was exposed to make that easy. And then got to this point, and like I say a lot, everything is off of measurements. You can't always go off of the new panels, like say for instance your holes up here, like where your export brace would go. Not necessarily all three line up perfect, the firewall, the lower cowl, the upper cowl. They may be off a smidge from each other. You just, in my opinion, need to focus on getting your points right. As you saw, I measured out where the edge corner of the upper cowl was on both sides. I did off of the windshield clip mounting spots there. I measured out to the edge of that cowl on both sides, wrote down those measurements, also did a cross measurement just so I know left or right it's back in the same place, and then forward and backwards it's in the same place. That way you can't have your cowl cocked at all, and that's going to throw off your hood, which is then going to throw off your fenders. So there's a lot that goes into doing these shells that you don't see. There's a lot that I just can't explain because it would just take me days. It just takes some practice and patience of going at it slow if this may be your first time. But now I have the lower cowl in place. I went ahead and put the upper cowl, which I have sitting over there. I put that on, measured my points to make sure that the lower cowl wasn't off, because you will have also these wiper holes that should be lined up with your upper cowl. So I wanted to make sure that I have all that in line, and then I went ahead and clamped down that lower cowl. So I'm going to go ahead, weld that all in place, weld the firewall along the sides at the cowl side panels on both sides, so then that whole body piece is all welded where it should be. Then I'll grind down the welds, and then we'll be back and I'll describe what I'm going to do here as far as seam sealing these top hats to prevent any kind of rust in the future as best as you can. So let's weld this together. I'm at the point where the lower cowl is in place. I just seam sealed it like you saw in the video, just to show you what I was using. A Dynapro seam sealer, brushable seam sealer. There's a part number. That's pretty good stuff there. And all I'm doing is just taking a brush and brushing it around that top hat the whole way around on both sides, just so whenever your water is going down through your cowl and it runs down these sides here, it doesn't go up underneath those top hats, and that's what rusted out. So that seam serves to help it just glide off of it and go down these gutters basically, and then it drops down into the back of your other panels, which need protected. That's why they rusted out like that, because the water was designed to go down into those panels, but that's a different story. This is sealed up as good as it can get, and I also go around the wiper hole bolt holes, just so any kind of water, which water shouldn't get up there, but if it ever did, it can't drip down inside or create any problems there. So it's all seam sealed on both sides, and I scuffed that panel before painting it. I scuff it, wipe it down, and then I shoot it with a coat of paint, then seam sealed it, and I'm going to shoot another coat of paint over top of that, so everything's protected. And I do it on the bottom of that upper cowl panel also while it's apart, so everything is coated nicely before I stick it together. That's just to try and protect it for the longevity of this car's life. Anything you do will enhance its lifespan, so definitely do something. You want to seam seal these hats, coat it with whatever you got, but I'm gonna let that seam sealer dry for a little while, then shoot it with another coat of paint, and then I'll be able to weld that upper cowl on. So that's gonna be it for this video, just because that's gonna be over the next couple hours. I'll let that dry, spray it, let it dry overnight. I'll weld that upper panel on in the morning, and then I'll start the next video from there. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. So hopefully this helps you understand a little bit more of your cowl area if you're doing this kind of job. Just wanna make sure that you seal it up good. And we're moving right along with the 67. The next thing we're gonna do is, I'm not sure, I'm gonna think about it. It's one thing, every job is a little bit different with the procedure and how I'm gonna do it. Just depends on what panels you're using. Like for me, I'm just using front frame rails to weld in my rod and custom kit. I don't want to use the one-piece shock towers because you would just have to cut out the shock towers, and I'm using Mustang Saphir front apron panels, so I don't need any of those engine bay panels anyway, besides the rear ones where your hood hinges mount onto. So I may be moving on to that front end, and then we'll work on the door areas, hanging doors, rebuild hinges. All that's coming up into the next video, so give it a thumbs up if you like this video, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Thanks for watching this one, and see you in the next video.